Pinewood Harbor, Maine, October 2024. A thick fog rolled in from the Atlantic, draping the seaside town in a shroud of gray that swallowed the cobblestone streets whole. The air was sharp with salt and the musk of wet leaves, the kind of morning where sound carried farther than sight allowed. Officer Jake Miller, 32, tugged his police jacket tighter against the chill, his boots clicking softly against the damp stones of the historic district. Beside him, Shadow, his German Shepherd canine partner, padded silently, ears twitching at every rustle. For 5 years, they patrolled these quiet streets, a duo so in sync they were legends at the station. Crime here was rare, mostly petty. Theft or lost tourists, leaving their shifts predictable, almost dull. Until today, Shadow froze mid-stride near Harborview Park, his nose flaring, hackles rising. Jake stopped, his breath catching as he followed the dog's gaze to a weathered baby stroller slumped against a park bench. It looked abandoned, its faded blue fabric streaked with dew, wheels caked in mud. "What's got you, boy?" Jake murmured, crouching beside Shadow. The dog's low growl vibrated through the fog, a warning Jake had learned never to ignore. Shadow didn't spook easily, his instincts were razor-sharp, honed by years of sniffing out trouble where human eyes failed. Jake approached the stroller, his pulse quickening, the fog pressing in like a living thing. He peered inside, expecting trash or a prank, but what he saw stopped him cold. A baby, no more than 3 months old, nestled in a light blue blanket. The child's cheeks were rosy, chest rising and falling in peaceful sleep, oblivious to the damp chill. Around its neck hung a silver pendant, old and tarnished, etched with a strange symbol, a circle bisected by jagged lines. Jake's fingers brushed the blanket, and a scrap of paper fluttered to the ground. He snatched it up, his eyes scanning the scrawled words. "Protect my son, Thomas. They're coming. Don't trust anyone." The note hit like a punch. Jake's head snapped up, scanning the empty park. Nothing but fog and skeletal trees staring back. No footsteps, no cries for help, just an eerie stillness that made the hair on his neck prickle. "Who's they?" he whispered, half to Shadow, who circled the stroller, nose to the ground, tail stiff. The pendant glinted faintly as the sun pierced the mist. Tugging at a memory, Jake couldn't place something his father, a retired cop, once mentioned over a late-night whiskey years ago. A case? A warning? It was gone as quick as it came. Dispatch. "This is Miller," Jake said into his radio, voice steady despite the unease gnawing at him. "I've got an abandoned infant at Harborview Park. Send CPS and a detective, now." Shadow barked once, sharp and urgent, as if to say, "This isn't." Over. Jake knew it too. Whatever this was, it had just begun. The fog clung to Pinewood Harbor like a jealous lover, muffling the world as Jake Miller stood over the abandoned stroller, the baby's soft breathing the only sound cutting through the silence. Shadow paced restlessly, his black and tan coat blending into the mist, his growls low and insistent. Jake clutched the note. "Protect my son, Thomas. They're coming. Don't trust anyone." Its jagged handwriting searing into his mind. He flipped it over, searching for more, but found nothing. The pendant around the baby's neck glinted faintly, its odd symbol nagging at him like a half-remembered dream. He snapped a photo with his phone, zooming in on the etched lines. Something about it felt wrong. Familiar, dangerous. "Miller, report," crackled his radio, jolting him back. "Backup's 5 minutes out." "Copy that," Jake replied, his voice tight. "Infant stable, but there's a note sounds urgent. Hurry it up." He crouched beside Shadow, stroking the dog's head to calm him, but Shadow's ears stayed pinned, his nose twitching toward the park's edge. "What's out there, boy?" Jake muttered, squinting into the fog. The streets beyond were ghostly. the quaint shops and salt-worn homes of Pinewood Harbor swallowed by the haze. No one in sight, not a jogger, not a stray cat. Too quiet, even for this sleepy town. Headlights pierced the mist, and a patrol car rolled up, tires crunching gravel. Lieutenant Sarah Reeves stepped out, her sharp features taut, her blonde hair pulled back in a severe bun. She strode over, boots clicking with authority, her gray eyes flicking from Jake to the stroller. "What have we got, Miller?" she asked, her tone clipped, businesslike. "Abandoned baby, 3 months old, name's Thomas," Jake said, handing her the note. "Found this tucked in the blanket. And this," he lifted the pendant, letting it dangle. "Looks old, custom. Shadow's been on edge since we spotted the stroller." Reeves skimmed the note, her expression unreadable, then glanced at the pendant. "They're coming? Dramatic stuff. Probably some strung-out mother seen it before." She pocketed the paper, her gaze lingering on Jake. "CPS is en route. They'll take it from here." Jake frowned, catching a flicker in her eyes, something off, too quick to pin down. "Shadow's not buying it, ma'am." He's keyed up, sniffing toward cliffside. Could be a lead. Reeves's lips thinned. "Your dog's good, Miller, but this isn't the drug bust. It's a kid left in the cold. Standard protocol, CPS handles it. You're done here." Shadow growled softly, tugging his leash toward the fog, and Jake's gut tightened. "With respect, Lieutenant, this feels bigger. That note's not a junkie's ramble. It's a plea. I'd like to check the area, see if Shadow's onto something." Her eyes narrowed, cold and piercing. "You're not a detective, officer. Stick to patrol. That's an order." She turned away, radioing dispatch, but Shadow's agitation gnawed at Jake. Reeves was sharp, fair usually. Why the rush to shut this down? As she walked back to her car, Jake's phone buzzed an unknown number. He stepped aside, heart thudding, and answered. "Miller." A distorted voice rasped through, urgent, mechanical. "Don't let them take the kid. The pendant's the key, Harborview, 1993. Watch your back. They're closer than you think." The line went dead before Jake could demand more. He stared at the phone, the words sinking in like lead. Harborview, 1993. His father's old stories flickered whispers of a case that broke him, sent him into early retirement. Jake shoved the phone in his pocket as Reeves approached, her gaze drilling into him. "Who was that, Miller?" "Wrong number," he lied, forcing a shrug. "Some guy asking for the sheriff's office." Her stare lingered, skeptical, but she didn't press. "CPS is 2 minutes out. Wrap this up." The CPS worker arrived, a tired woman in a gray coat, and took Thomas gently, cooing at the sleeping boy. Jake handed over the pendant protocol bud. "Kept the photo. Where's he going?" he asked. "Family services, standard intake," she replied, scribbling notes. "We'll track down kin." Reeves watched, arms crossed, as they loaded the stroller into the van. "Back to patrol, Miller," she said, her tone final, then drove off into the mist. Jake clipped Shadow's leash, his mind racing. "Harborview, 1993, he muttered. "What the hell's that mean, boy?" Shadow whined, pulling toward Cliffside, the rich neighborhood up the bluffs, not the rough docks he'd expected. He hesitated, Reeves's order echoing, but the call's warning overrode it. "They're closer than you think." Who? Reeves? Someone at the station? Back at his cruiser, Jake pulled up the park security feed on his tablet. Grainy footage showed a silver sedan pausing at 5:47, minutes before his shift started. A hooded figure stepped out, placed the stroller, and sped off toward Cliffside. The plate was blurry, but he ran it anyway. A rental from Portland. No owner listed. A dead end or a deliberate one. His radio crackled. "Miller, report to station." Reeves's voice cut in. "Now." Jake's jaw tightened. She'd been watching him leave the park too fast to be coincidence. Shadow growled again, eyes locked on the fog rolling off the harbor. Jake patted his flank. "We're not done yet, buddy. Something's rotten here, and I'll be damned if I let it slide." He started the cruiser, the note's plea burning in his mind. Protect my son, and the pendant symbol flashing like a warning light. Whatever this was, it wasn't just an abandoned baby. It was a thread to something, buried deep in Pinewood Harbor's quiet streets, and Jake was about to pull it. Orders be damned. The cruiser's engine hummed as Jake Miller pulled away from Harborview Park, the fog swallowing the stroller's empty spot in his rearview mirror. Pinewood Harbor's quaint streets stretched out before him, bathed in the gray half-light of an October morning in 2024, but the town's charm felt like a mask now hiding something jagged beneath. Shadow sat shotgun, his ears pricked, amber eyes scanning the haze with a hunter's focus. Jake's fingers drummed the wheel, the cryptic call replaying in his head. Harborview, 1993. They're closer than you think. Lieutenant Reeves's. Clip dismissal gnawed at him too quick, too cold. He glanced at Shadow. "You feel it too, don't you, boy?" Something's off. He should have headed straight to the station as ordered, but the pendant's photo burned a hole in his pocket. Instead, he turned toward Cliffside, the upscale bluffs overlooking the harbor. The sedan on the footage had sped that way, not the docks or the trailer parks where desperate parents might ditch a kid. Why Cliffside? Shadow whined, nose pressed to the window, as if urging him on. Jake's radio crackled again. "Miller, where are you?" Reeves's voice cut through, edged with impatience. "En route, ma'am," Jake replied, keeping it vague. Had to check a noise complaint near the park. A lie, but he'd deal with the fallout later. He muted the radio, his gut telling him to dig before Reeves shut him down for good at the station. He slipped into the records room, the stale air thick with dust and old coffee. The security feed from Harborview was still open on his tablet. 547 MI, a silver sedan, a hooded figure. He zoomed in, but the plate stayed blurry, a smudge of numbers and letters. Running it again confirmed the rental from Portland, no owner tied to it. "Dead end," he muttered, but Shadow's tail thumped, as if disagreeing. Jake pulled up a map of cliffside million-dollar homes, private drives, a world apart from Pinewood's working-class core. Why there? The door creaked open, and Carlos Martinez stepped in, his grizzled face shadowed under the precinct's dim lights. The veteran detective had been his father's partner back in the day, a quiet man with sharp eyes. "Heard you found a kid," Martinez said, leaning against the wall. "Reeves is pissed you're not back yet." "She live," Jake said, keeping his tone light. Shadow sniffed out a stroller baby inside, plus a weird note and a pendant. "You ever see anything like this?" He slid his phone over, the pendant symbol glowing on the screen. Martinez's jaw tightened, his eyes flicking to the image. "Where'd you get that?" "Kid's neck." Note said, "Protect him. They're coming." "Mean anything to you?" Martinez hesitated, then leaned in, voice dropping to a whisper. "Walk away, Jake. That symbol your dad saw it once. Harborview. 93. Nearly got him killed." Jake's pulse spiked. What happened in 93? He never talked about it, just drank more after. Martinez glanced at the door, then back. "Dig too deep and you'll wish you hadn't. It was a bust gone bad officially. Unofficially? Something bigger. Your old man poked the wrong bear. Got reassigned. Then retired early. Ask him, not me. Ask him what?" Jake pressed, stepping closer. "You're holding out, Carlos. Spill it." Martinez's eyes darkened. "I'm saying watch your back. People upstairs are twitchy about this. Leave it to CPS and forget. You saw that pendant." He turned to go, but Jake grabbed his arm. "If it's nothing, why are you scared?" Jake's voice was low, insistent. Martinez yanked free, his whisper fierce. "Because I saw what it did to your dad. Don't make me bury you too." He stormed out, leaving Jake with more questions than answers. Back at his apartment, a cramped walk-up overlooking the harbor, Jake locked the door and dimmed the lights. Shadow prowled the room, restless, as Jake fired up his personal laptop. "Harborview 1993, he typed. The public records showed zilch routine busts, no headlines. He dialed his father, Thomas Miller Sr., the line ringing into voicemail. "Dad, it's Jake. What's Harborview 93? Found a kid today with a pendant feels tied to you. Call me." He hung up, staring at the pendant's photo. That symbol had. He seen it in his dad's old files, buried in the attic after the move to Florida. A thud outside snapped him out of it. Shadow bolted to the door, growling deep in his throat. Jake grabbed his service Glock, heart pounding, and crept to the peephole. Nothing, just fog curling under the streetlights. But Shadow's hackles stayed up, his nose sniffing the crack under the door. A rustle came from the hallway, then footsteps, heavy, deliberate, pausing right outside. Jake held his breath, finger off the trigger but ready. The steps lingered, then retreated, fading into the night. He cracked the door, Glock raised, and found a weatherproof envelope wedged against the frame. Shadow sniffed it, tail stiff, as Jake tore it open. Inside, a USB drive and a faded photo his father, young and in uniform, arm around a grinning Deputy Chief Morgan, dated 1993. Scrawled on the back, "The circle remains unbroken." Jake's hand shook as he plugged the USB into his laptop, bypassing the security warning. A single file loaded a redacted police report. Harborview incident, June 17th, 1993. Most was blacked out, but fragments stood out. Unauthorized operation. Evidence missing. Internal compromise. At the bottom, a scanned handwritten note. "Tim, if you're reading this, they found her. The pendant's the key. Trust only those who know. Thomas Miller." His father. The room spun. Her? Who? And why now? Shadow's growl pulled him back. The dog stared at the window, ears flat. Jake killed the lights, peering out. A shadow moved across the street, a tall figure in a dark coat, watching, then vanishing into the fog. "They're here," Jake whispered, echoing the note's warning. His phone buzzed Reeves. "Miller, station now. No excuses." Her tone was ice, no room for debate. He grabbed the USB and photo, shoving them into his jacket. Let's move, Shadow." The dog's eyes gleamed, ready for the hunt. At the station, Reeves waited in the lobby, arms crossed, her stare cutting through him. "You're late. Explain." "Got held up," Jake said, testing her. Shadow picked up a scent near Cliffside, thought it might tie to the kid. Her face didn't flinch, but her voice sharpened. "I told you to drop it. CPS has the baby. You're off this chief's orders." "Chief Morgan?" Jake asked, watching her closely. "Who else?" she snapped. "Don't play detective, Miller. You'll regret it." She turned away, but Jake caught a tremor in her hand nerves. Or anger? In the break room, Martinez cornered him, voice a harsh whisper. "Told you to let it go. Morgan's asking about you knows you ran that plate. What's he hiding?" Jake shot back, leaning in. "You know more than you're saying." Martinez's eyes darted to the door. "I know Morgan and your dad were tight till 93. Something broke then. That pendant? It's a ghost from that mess. Walk away, Jake, or you're next." Jake stepped closer, voice low and hard. "Next for what, Carlos? Tell me, or I'll dig till I hit bone." Martinez paled, then muttered, "Your funeral," and left. Jake's phone vibrated, an unknown number again. He answered, heart racing. "Miller." The distorted voice returned. Colder now. They've got the kid. Cliffside. 24 hurry. Trust no one in blue. Click. Jake stared at Shadow. The pieces snapping together. Morgan, Reeves, Cliffside, his father's past. The circle wasn't just unbroken, it was closing. In. He grabbed his keys. We're going hunting, boy. Whatever this is, it ends tonight. The fog thickened as night fell over Pinewood Harbor, a gray veil that turned the town's quiet streets into a labyrinth of shadows. Jake Miller's cruiser cut through it, headlights slicing the mist as he sped toward Cliffside, the affluent. Bluffs looming like sentinels above the harbor. Shadow sat alert beside him, ears pinned, sensing the storm brewing ahead. The anonymous call echoed in Jake's skull. They've got the kid. Cliffside, 24 hurry. Trust no one in blue. His Glock rested heavy on his hip. The USB and photo from his doorstep tucked inside his jacket. Whatever Harborview 1993 was, it had claws, and they were closing in. Number 24 Cliffside Road was a colonial mansion, its iron gates gleaming under. Sodium lights, its manicured grounds a stark contrast to Pinewood's weathered charm. Jake killed the engine a block away, the fog muffling the world as he and Shadow slipped out. Quiet now, boy, he whispered, clipping the leash loose. Shadow's nose hit the ground, weaving through the shadows toward a service entrance where a catering van idled cover for a late-night event, maybe. Jake's radio crackled Reeves again. Miller, report your position. He ignored it, muting the sound. No time for her games. The service gate creaked open under his push, and Shadow darted ahead, silent as a ghost. Jake followed, heart pounding, the pendant symbol flashing in his mind, his father's past colliding with this moment. Inside the grounds, muffled voices drifted from the mansion's lit windows, laughter, clinking glasses. A charity event, he guessed, a perfect mask for darker dealings. Shadow stopped at a rear door, growling low, and Jake pressed himself against the wall, listening. Footsteps inside, then a woman's voice, soft but urgent. He's safe for now. We need to move him. Jake eased the door open, Glock raised, and slipped into a dimly lit hallway. Shadow padded beside him, nose twitching. The voice came from a room at the end of nursery, judging by the pastel walls and crib. He peered through the crack. A woman in her 30s, dark hair pulled back, cradled baby Thomas. Her eyes were wide, haunted, locked on a middle-aged nurse in scrubs. They'll find us, the woman said, clutching the boy tighter. I thought Benjamin could hide us. Jake knocked sharply, stepping in. Pinewood PD hands where I can see them. The nurse froze, but the woman didn't flinch, her gaze snapping to him. Officer Miller? She asked, voice trembling but steady. You found my note. He lowered the gun slightly, Shadow circling to guard the door. You're the mother? Who's after you? Emma Parker, she said, rocking Thomas gently. And yes, I left him for you to find. You're Thomas Miller's son. I needed someone I could trust. Jake's breath caught. How do you know my father? Later, Emma snapped, glancing at the window. They're coming, Morgan, Reeves. They think I'm a loose end. The pendant. She touched the silver on Thomas's neck, now back in her possession. It's a key. Data proving the harbor networks run this town for decades. Network? Jake pressed, stepping closer. What's on it? Everything, Emma said, eyes blazing. Financials, blackmail, proof they've controlled Pinewood since the 80s. I worked for North Star. Technologies founded by accident. They'll kill to keep it buried. Before Jake could respond, Shadow's growl deepened and tires crunched outside. Headlights flashed through the curtains. Too late, Emma whispered, paling. The nurse bolted for the door, but Shadow blocked her, teeth bared. Stay put, Jake ordered, then turned to Emma. Who's they? Her answer came like a blade. You're Captain Davis, not Morgan. Davis runs it all. Morgan's just muscle. The room spun. Davis? His mentor, the man who'd trained him, vouched for him? You're wrong, Jake said, voice shaking. Listen, Emma cut in, fierce. Davis groomed you, wanted you in his pocket. When you found Thomas, he saw you slipping. The pendant's why I chose you. Your dad fought them in '93. He's the only cop they couldn't break. Footsteps thudded downstairs, boots, multiple pairs. Jake's radio buzzed, ignored. We're out of time, he said, holstering his Glock. Service elevator? Where? Emma pointed, grabbing a diaper bag. End of the hall. Go. They ran, Shadow leading, as shouts echoed below. Secure the kid. The elevator dinged, and they piled in, descending to the garage. Martinez's unmarked car screeched up, the detective's face grim. What the hell, Miller? You've got the kid? Emma's alive, Jake said, shoving Thomas into the back with her. Davis is the head network's reel. We've got seconds. Martinez cursed, peeling out as floodlights swept the grounds. Morgan and Reeves are upstairs armed. Where to? Harbor Point Lighthouse, Emma said, breathless. Benjamin Wilson's meeting us safe drop for the data. The drive was a blur, fog swirling around the cruiser as Jake pieced it together. Davis, not Morgan, pulling strings. His phone rang unknown again. He answered, tense. Miller. Harbor Point now. A woman's voice rasped different, urgent. I'm Rachel Chun, Emma's partner. Bring the pendant, I've got the key. Davis knows. How? Jake started, but the line died. Martinez glanced over. Trap? Maybe, Jake said, gripping the wheel. But it's all we've got. Harbor Point Lighthouse loomed through the mist, its red and white stripes faded against the dawn sky. A black sedan waited. Benjamin Wilson, silver-haired and tense, stepped out. Emma! He called, relief breaking his voice. You're alive. For now, she said, clutching Thomas as they exited the car. Where's Rachel? Inside, Benjamin replied, gesturing to the lighthouse. But we've got trouble. Davis is close. The door creaked open, revealing Rachel Chun, a wiry woman with sharp eyes, laptop in hand. You've got it? She asked, spotting the pendant. Jake nodded, handing it over. She twisted it expertly, popping a false bottom to reveal a microchip. This ends them, she said, plugging it into her device. Shadow growled, hackles up, as gravel crunched outside. A lone figure emerged from the fog. Captain Davis, his familiar broad shoulders unmistakable, service pistol drawn. Jake, he called, voice calm but edged with steel. You're in over your head. Hand it over. Jake stepped forward, Shadow at his side, Glock steady. You? All this time? Davis smirked, eyes cold. Order, Jake. The network keeps Pinewood stable contracts, jobs, secrets. Your dad didn't get it either, chose family over duty. I thought you'd be smarter. Smarter like you? Jake spat, fury rising. Selling out your badge? Surviving, Davis corrected, stepping closer. Last chance. Give me the chip, or you're all dead. Emma clutched Thomas. Rachel typed furiously, and Martinez flanked Jake, gun raised. It's over, Captain, Jake said, voice hard. FBI's got copies. Winters in Portland. You're done. Davis's face twisted, a snarl breaking his calm. Bluffing won't save you. He aimed at Thomas. Shadow lunged, jaws snapping, forcing Davis back as Jake fired a warning shot, cracking the dawn. Davis stumbled, cursing, and bolted for his SUV. He's running, Martinez shouted, but Jake held up a hand. Let him. Evidence is out. Rachel looked up, triumphant. Uploaded? FBI's moving now. Emma sank against the wall, tears streaking her face. Thomas is safe? For now, Jake said, holstering his gun. But Davis's words lingered secrets, order, and the lighthouse's beam cut through the fog, revealing a truth Jake couldn't unsee. His mentor was the monster all along. The fog began to lift as dawn broke over Harbor Point Lighthouse, its weak rays piercing the mist that had cloaked Pinewood Harbor's secrets. Jake Miller stood on the rocky outcrop, Glock still warm in his hand, watching Captain Davis's SUV vanish into the distance. Shadow pressed against his leg, panting from the lunge that had saved Thomas. Inside the lighthouse, Emma Parker cradled her son, her face streaked with relief and exhaustion, while Rachel Chun typed the final commands on her laptop, sealing the Harbor Network's fate. Martinez holstered his weapon, his grizzled features tight with disbelief. "Davis?" he muttered. "All these years." Jake's chest ached, not from the fight, but from the betrayal. Davis, his mentor, the man who taught him to shoot straight and trust his gut, was the spider at the web's center. "It's done," Rachel said, slamming her laptop shut. "FB, I's got it all, financials, recordings, names. Agent Winters is raiding Pinewood now." Emma looked up, voice trembling. "Thomas is safe?" "Safe," Jake confirmed, his gaze softening on the boy. "Winters will protect you both. Witness program, new start." He turned to the horizon, where sirens wailed faintly, closing in on the town he'd called home. Benjamin Wilson stepped forward, his silver hair glinting in the dawn. "I've got a plane ready, Portland, 20 minutes. FBI's waiting." His eyes met Jake's, heavy with unspoken history. "Your father tried to stop this in '93. You finished it." The mention of his father jolted Jake. "Where is he?" he demanded, turning to Rachel. "With me," came a gravelly voice from the lighthouse door. Thomas Miller Sr. emerged, frail but upright, leaning on a cane. His weathered face broke into a tired smile. "Got here as fast as I could, son. Heard you took on Davis." Jake crossed the distance in 3 strides, gripping his father's shoulder. "Why didn't you tell me? 30 years you let me think you quit." Thomas Sr.'s eyes clouded. "I walked away to protect you. Davis threatened you and your mom. But I never stopped. Worked with Benjamin, Emma, Rachel piecing it together. That pendant? It's my old evidence key, repurposed." "You could have trusted me," Jake said, voice thick. "I do now," his father replied, clasping his hand. "You closed the circle, I couldn't." Sirens grew louder. FBI, not Pinewood PD. Jake turned to Martinez. "You in?" "Always," Martinez said, grinning faintly. "Oh, your old man that much." 3 days later, Jake stood in Portland's FBI office, Shadow at his side. Emma and Thomas were gone. New names, new lives. The network crumbled. Morgan arrested. Mayor Wilson exposed. Davis cornered in a standoff, taken alive. Agent Diana Winters approached, her sharp eyes appraising. "You're a hell of a cop, Miller. Join us, Shadow 2. Your dad can consult. We need you." Jake glanced at his father, now frail but proud. Then at Shadow, tail wagging. "Where?" "In," he said, the pendant's weight lifting from his soul. The circle was closed, but out there, other shadows waited.